if anybody is struggling right now with skin issues, I guess I would tell them that it's you can do it, man. Like I was there. I was there just like Rob was, like lost, and then just trying out like something like this, something out of the ordinary. It totally helped me out.
God, I'm happy that I wake up and I don't even look at my pillow for flakes, or I don't even go to the bathroom mirror to pick off my new crunchies from my mustache. Like, all right, guys, today we are talking to Julian, and he has a great healing story. Someone who suffers from eczema, dermatitis, and he has had some success in the past naturally healing his skin. He's also had some frustrations and failures. And in today's video, I'm going to give a live coaching session / interview, and we're going to talk to Julian about how to navigate healing eczema naturally moving forward. And we're going to answer all the questions that he have. So enjoy the podcast, enjoy the interview. Leave your questions and your comments down below. Remember to subscribe to this channel. And if you guys are struggling in any way, shape, or form with naturally healing eczema, dermatitis, psoriasis, or rosacea, please check out the links in the description box. Personalized, step-by-step healing plans that actually work. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Rob Stuart. I worked with over 3,000 students and clients, helping them naturally heal their skin, eczema, dermatitis, psoriasis, and rosacea. I've been doing this private coaching and leading groups for over a decade. And I personally used to suffer greatly from dermatitis, rosacea, eczema, and psoriasis. It was a really fun time. But I've been skin disease free for going on like 13 years now. And it's been the best 13 years of my life. And this channel is dedicated to helping people like you guys naturally heal your skin. I share my journey. I share the journey of my clients. And I hope you guys enjoy. Much love. And I'll see you soon in other videos. Peace. So Julian, thanks for being on. It's a pleasure to meet you, brother. I'm happy we get the chance to connect, and hopefully we can get things moving in the right direction for you. My goal with this conversation and all these conversations is that you can leave with some tangible advice that can help you. And, you know, obviously the people that are watching can tune in and get the downloads and learn as well. I just want to say thanks and appreciate you for being vulnerable. As we all know in this community, this is a pain in the ass and a challenging thing to go through. It's challenging. So thank you for having courage and sharing your story. And let's jump into it. So Julian, I would like to know from you what your skin condition is. If you could share that with us. You maybe have more than one. I know I did. And then also kind of how long you've been suffering with it.
So I've had dermatitis pretty much my entire life, just eczema. And it basically started when I was a baby, and my mom, she was very worried about it. I went to the doctor my whole life, pretty much, and I think around 2018, I had a talk with my dermatologist where he was basically going through all the things that I could have done. At that time, I was doing like UV light treatments, and there were also salt baths possible, but they didn't really offer them. It was more like, oh, that's a possibility, but you have to ask for it or something. But anyway, they said that that's like only an option when everything else has already been tried. And so I was like, okay, sure. What else do I have to try? What else is left? I've taken all the creams and stuff that you want me to take. So what's next? And basically, they said like there's a pill which like lowers your immune system, and because it's like an autoimmune thing, that's gonna help. But when they said that, I was like, yeah, okay, that doesn't sound like a good idea to lower my immune system. So maybe I shouldn't do that. And then I started looking into like, okay, what else is there before I start doing this crazy stuff? And that's how I found your channel. I did a lot by myself. Back then, I just was starting like just a healthy lifestyle type of thing, but like with like more normal foods. I'd say it was like kind of, yeah, just a what's it called, like Southern Europeans, Mediterranean diet, kind of something like that.
Yeah.
And I had decent success. Then I went over to something more keto-like, which was very difficult for me because keto, yeah, I really suck at the macros. And then after that, I tried carnivore with a lot of success, but also transitioning that into something else was where I kind of failed, I guess. And then, yeah, after that, I had like a tough period, which kind of brought me off track. And, that's where I'm at right now.
Gotcha. So you kind of got things rolling with a Mediterranean diet, just kind of a healthy, whole foods base that kind of started making things go in the right direction. Then that kind of shifted into animal-based carnivore. Then some life happened and things got wild, and that leads us to where you're at right now. So that's awesome. That's a good, gives me a nice little background as to what's been going on. Have you tried so far any of the other healing modalities like the cleansing and detox, lifestyle adjustments? Tell me a little bit more about that.
So, salt baths, I've tried to incorporate those pretty regularly. It's kind of difficult because I don't have a tub, but I have options, so that's one thing. I also did like cold exposures, cold plunges. That's something I really enjoyed, but I'm not doing them as much as I want to now. I also did like the whole, what's it called? Liver flushes and salt flushes, and yeah, a bunch of that stuff. Also with varying success. It's not like certain times I feel like it has a lot of effect, and certain times I think it's not really effective. I think the most consistent success I've had with like detox type things was celery juice and salt baths. Salt baths, yeah. I tried the oat baths, and they don't really work for me for some reason.
Mm-hmm. They weren't that soothing for you?
No, kind of opposite. I don't know why.
You know, I find that to be one of the, I don't want to say fun parts because there's nothing fun about what I do as a career. I mean, I love it when people have success, but obviously this is a challenging thing. But something that I've noticed with diet, with lifestyle interventions, with the cleansing and detoxes, even with things like salt baths, oatmeal baths, green tea baths, they work great for some people and they drive other people nuts. And that's, I think, part of the challenge of this thing for a lot of people is figuring out like what to make of all this. On paper, all the healthy stuff sounds great, but you know, when you eat a healthy diet and nothing happens, that sucks and it's challenging and then it's confusing and then you quit. Or when cleanses do something and then they don't, or when baths do something and then they don't. But the one thing that's strange and a part of this thing is the consistency through it all is the important thing, because the body is going to ebb and flow. Meaning, if I were to, at this point, you know, almost 15 years into being over the hump and good to go and having healthy skin and no problems, if I were to go through a series of cleanses this month, and then 6 months from now go through a series of cleanses, the way that they would feel and what they would do would be dramatically different because of my emotional state, my body weight, where I'm at, stress levels, what did I eat the week before, the month before, the days before. So it's all, I can see the confusion and why that could be frustrating. Question for you. So you have done some dieting, you've done some lifestyle stuff, you've done some cleansing and detoxification stuff. Right now, and we'll lead this into your questions, but I'm curious as to, with the big picture, what's the biggest challenge for you right now moving forward with where you're at?
Well, so what you just mentioned, like consistency, that's one thing where I'm like, I think I really have a lot to gain there, right? Because if life happens or whatever, what do you do to like make things so natural that you don't have to like think about things so much? Because that's the thing. I remember the first thing I did was trying to cut out sugar from my diet, and I remember that every trip to the store became like a real big deal, and I would stand in the store for like an hour just looking at packaging, and just imagining that kind of a process being like, yeah, that's not something you can do full time. Or like all the time, that's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, so like how do you make this consistent? How do you like make it effortless. That's what I'm trying to look for, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. So consistency and making it so that it's not overwhelming and actually easy to do. This is a great jumping off spot, and there's a lot of tools for both. One, I think, is just the overall mindset and understanding of what the healing process looks like. And I think once you understand that, it can make the road easy. In the beginning, it's like anything. You know, when you start university or when you start high school or when you start a brand new job, it's a bit overwhelming. A lot of information. You have to learn all these new things. 6 months in, 3 months in, you show up, you get on your email, you know where to stamp your time card. Everything is smooth and easy and pretty just don't have to think about it. Grocery shopping, consistency with diet can also be like that if you allow yourself the freedom to have a really challenging month or two figuring it all out and allow yourself to get over that hump. Once you're over that hump, like I used to be the same way. I'd step into a grocery store and I'd be overwhelmed with all of these different things that I read and heard. And this is bad. I want to eat this. And if you eat this, food, and I'm just in there going crazy. And half the time I just say, F it. I'm just going to grab what I always grab and get the hell out of here because I'm stressing.
Yeah.
Okay. I just had to slow down and learn a few things. And once I learned them, I mean, now I go to the grocery store and there's zero thought and it's the stress. I mean, I laugh about it. Going to the grocery store is like one of the funnest things I do. I go, it's very simple. I get what I get. It's the same thing pretty much every time I put it in my thing. I know how much it costs. I go and do it. I'm home and there's zero stress. So part of it is the mindset of understanding, okay, at first it's going to be a little hard and I'm going to give myself patience through that and not beat myself up if I have some mess ups and just keep trying. And at a certain point, it'll get easier.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of it. The other part of it is to don't make it more complicated or harder than it needs to be. And this is a challenge for me as a content creator and a teacher because I want to give everyone all the possible ways to heal and all the routines. Yeah, and if you try to do everything all the time, I mean, dude, we only have 24 hours in a day and 7 days in a week. You know, you're not going to be a professional VO2 max trainer and a bodybuilder and sauna, cold exposure, cleansing and customizing the diet and holding down no. So what we do is we first hyper focus on the most important things. That's the customization of the diet. That's the gentle cleansing and detoxification. And that's just making sure we have basically enough movement per week to get the job done. And we focus on making that as fun, easy, and enjoyable as possible as the mission. It's not, how do I force myself to be as great at these things as I possibly can? No. Start playing with them. Bring them into your life. Keep doing them. Have fun. Make the routines as enjoyable as you can. And as you enjoy them, they become habits. And then once they're a habit, then you can bring more habits in later and just keep stacking habits. You know, I'm still learning new tricks. I still have things that I learn and oh, cool, I'm going to incorporate that now. Or, ooh, I'm going to stop doing that because it's not working as good and it's stressing me out. So I'll go do other stuff. So I think being flexible and open, and at the end of the day, I think it also comes down to just not being in a rush, which is the last thing that people in your shoes want to hear, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
You know, once you start trying to make it happen as fast as possible, the faster you try to make it happen, the more stressful and pressure there will be to make it happen.
Yeah, I didn't have issues with that, to be honest.
Cool.
I kind of, like I said, I've had this my whole life, so I'm not in a rush to get rid of it. I'm actually really happy with just the level that I'm at right now because I think the work that I did a few years ago is still having some effect because like I don't get crazy flare-ups or anything as much anymore, and I used to get them really, really bad. So in that department, I don't really have a rush or whatever. But something you said was actually one of the questions I had for you, is like, how do you do that? How do you make this process fun? How do you get fun out of doing this?
Yeah, okay, that's a really great question. I'll kind of break it down, kind of like section by section, so it'll be a little bit easier to ingest the information. let's take cleansing and detoxification, for example. We got your salt flush, we got your enemas, we got your liver gallbladder flush, you got intermittent fasting, you got water fasting. You could throw sauna and cold exposure in there and maybe some massage. So these are all like the autophagy enhancing tools that we like to have a good schedule with and an understanding of how we use them and all of this. Okay, well, how the hell do we make it fun? Well, Sundays for me, while I was in the year of healing, was my staycation day. That day, no one got to call me. There was no obligations. If people wanted to hang out with me, it meant they were coming and they were enjoying the fiesta. And the fiesta was the fiesta of healing. We're starting our party off with a coffee enema in the morning. Then we're going to do a big group meditation breathwork session. Then we're going to have a wonderful lunch together. Then we're going to, do cold exposure and do some sauna. Then we might play some volleyball. And then we all just might hang out by the fire afterwards. That sounds pretty fun. And I just knocked out like 7 different healing protocols in a very enjoyable way.
Okay.
And that's just one example of, make it more social, make it more dynamic, stack lots of different healing modalities into one protocol. Like, for instance, I don't like sitting in the sauna. Boring as hell.
I love sauna.
Okay, cool. But for me, if I was like a person trying to heal and I was like, I want to do sauna because it's healing, but I don't like doing it, how do I make it fun? Well, how do I make it fun? Blast the music, remove the clothes, and it's time for yoga and dance, baby. So that's how I overcame being bored in the sauna. Dance and do yoga while I'm in there and do some breath work and listen to music and make it really fun.
Yeah,
cool.
I try to do that for my dishes. I hate doing dishes, so I turn on some music and then it's fun. Yeah.
Right. So like creating the right atmosphere and making it fun is as simple as like infusing what needs to make it just less serious and enjoyable. Also, in the beginning, where I see people burning themselves out is they just try to go too nuts. They're like cleansing like a wild man for an entire month while they're trying to customize the diet, while they're trying to, get into perfect shape, while they're trying to, run their business that they just started. And it's like, that for most people, that ain't gonna happen. So kind of like doing less, but doing less better and making it so that you enjoy what you're doing. It's not stressing you out and you get into the rhythm. And to me, it's once you've established the behaviors and the rhythm, it's game over. It's okay, cool. In there.
I think that's why I had like the most success with Carnivore, because I didn't have to think about it a lot, right? I just have to, the selection of foods that I had to eat were like limited. The same goes for like monomealing. Like I also did like the potato diet or something like that, and I mixed it up with apples but stuff like that helps me because I don't have to like think about it. So, yeah.
I'm the same way. The simplicity of my diet and the not having to like think of, I have to make this meal today and this meal and that meal and this meal and that meal. I'm ultra simple with my diet because it makes it super easy and it still tastes great. And I thought about my diet enough and now I don't have to think about it at all. And I think that people do have to kind of go through that where you do have to focus on it for a bit, but you focus on it for a bit so that you never have to focus on it again.
Got it. So one of my questions for you was about like the whole process of like customizing your diet, because that's where I think I messed up last time is where when I did the whole carnivore thing for I think I did it for like 4 or 5 months, and at some point you want to switch it up or something, and I noticed that pretty much everything got like a reaction, and I was really curious, like these biomarkers that you're talking about, like what determines something being good for you or not, and how do you also something like you mentioned this in your last video was about the macros. That's also one thing that I didn't have to think about with Carnivore, right? So that also made it easier for me. But then as soon as I have to switch to something else or add something in, it also changes the macros. So I'm like, what does that mean, right? How do I do that?
Absolutely. And I'll break it down to you because there's only really two main things that have to get done. If you simplify it down to its core system, one is creating a baseline. And then the second is testing foods. Let me talk about creating the baseline. It's very, very straightforward concept. For 3 months, you can create a baseline. And once you have your baseline, you understand how your body's operating at the most basic level. So think about it like this. If over the past 3 months, I ate these 6 foods, these 6 foods eaten consistently for 3 months made these biomarkers results with my body. So you could say, after eating for 3 months, these 6 foods, this is how healthy I am. That becomes your baseline. So let's say on average, all the biomarkers are around a 7 or a 6 after the 3 months. They've improved quite a bit. They were all probably like 2 or 3. So you've eaten these 6 foods, and after 3 months, you're at an average of around a 7 with your biomarkers out of 10. Cool. That's your baseline. Now you're like, I don't really understand macros too much, but I want to learn about them and test macros and start my process with playing with macros. So what you would do is you'd take a month and you'd test a macro range, meaning you'd either lower your fat and bring in a little bit of carbs, or you'd bring your fat way up and lower your protein slightly and get into deep ketogenic range. So wherever you are, you'd try a different set of macros, including calories can be tested. And then what you do is you slowly transition into that over the course of a month. And during the course of the month, while you're doing that, you write down and journal your biomarkers. If at the end of that testing month, your biomarkers are still a 7, or they've improved to a 7.5 or an 8 or a 9, then you know that those macro ranges that you tested, or the macro range that you ended up at, is a safe place for you to be. And no matter what happened to your symptoms, the skin, during that testing phase, if your biomarkers stay the same or get better, that food is safe or those macros are safe. And that's the basic system with macros, with testing foods, and with all of the different variables is, do they change my biomarkers for the better or not? And if they change my biomarkers for the worse, then that macro or that food is out for now and can maybe be retested down the road if you want to.
Okay.
Questions?
Yeah, sure. So I got a few of them.
I meant, do you have any deeper questions about that topic?
About that topic. Okay.
Yeah.
So, this has to do also with the social aspect, actually, because like sometimes I get like some kind of a reaction in my gut or whatever after like something social where I ate something that I shouldn't have, right? Or that I maybe didn't fit within these things that I've set up. And now all of a sudden it was a dish which had all kinds of ingredients. And now I'm trying to figure out like what was the thing that triggered this. And
right.
The question is more like, does it mean anything, or is it more like just reintroducing something that's odd just can give you a reaction?
So actually both. When you're testing foods, and this is some of the nuance of testing foods. Now, macros can do this too, but anytime you change the variables of your baseline, meaning the macros or the food choices, it's going to probably take a week and a half, sometimes 2 weeks for the body to adjust to that. And you just have to know that that's going to be an adjustment phase. And if you have a little gas, if you have a little weird digestion, you got to give it some time. That's why we give foods at least a month to test. If it continues to cause problems for the full month, then obviously that doesn't work with your biomarkers. In terms of like social eating or a little cheat or a little mess up, we just don't even look at that as information that's viable, except for we got off the plan, because it's too hard to extrapolate what made the immune response. Was it the fun plus the food? Was it the seed oils? Was it the random nuts that were in there? It's you're going to go nuts trying to figure that out and crazy. And also remember, one of the keys, and this is the counterintuitive part of healing, is like, as someone who's trying to heal their skin, you do have to become like a Zen Buddhist ninja and be like, the surface of my skin and the symptoms, although it's challenging, although I want to make them not suffer as much as possible, do not give me any viable information to base my healing off of.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's also something that I try to like. I'm trying to recollect the moments I had a few years ago, trying to figure out what food's worth, and I do recall like moments where like my skin would flare up or whatever or something, and there would be like several things that could have been the case, and I'm like, yeah, that that makes it so difficult. And also, this process, it's very taxing on my patience. I have to be honest. It's not easy.
And I mean, and that's understandable. You know what I mean? I think that part of this is we do have to like have the realization that we are trying to do something that's harder than becoming a millionaire and getting a six pack. If I'm being real, you know, by the percentage, it's harder to naturally heal your skin from eczema, dermatitis, and psoriasis as it, but that's also because how many people go about it the wrong way or give up or whatever, you know what I mean? I believe wholeheartedly that every single human being that's suffering from this affliction at worst can get their skin to a place where it doesn't bother them. Yeah. That's the worst case scenario, I believe. And I think that a lot of people can do what I've done where it's just, there's no thought of it during my normal day ever. And I never deal with it. And I'm just happy with my skin. I mean, as you can see, it's just normal skin.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm close to that. Like I said, I already had like a pretty good benefit from just doing all the detoxification and just the healthy eating like a few years ago. So, but yeah, it's not there, right? So I would like to like get it down, and also like I said, also just make it a habit, make it a lifestyle, right? Let me check. I had a few questions for you. Can I wait? Let me check.
You can take your time and do whatever you want, boss. It's all good. I'll take some green tea while I wait.
Awesome. Yeah. So I was curious about like, do you have any tips on changing behaviors?
Yeah. Let's play the game of maybe there's some specific behaviors that you have in mind that you're working on. And if I have a little meat to chomp my teeth into, I could probably give you a lot better wisdom or generally.
So like maybe, for example, a cheat, like this is actually kind of what I'm thinking of, for example, is like when I go to my mom's, I sometimes eat along, and I can't really get her to eat my diet, and I don't really try, but then I have to eat her food, which is a big deal. But yeah, like how do I try to change something like that? Because it's also not really something I would like to offend her with, or
yeah,
you know, it's
absolutely, totally understand. Been there myself. I think this is a great question. A lot of people can relate to. I think there's a couple of different ways to unpack this, and I think one is the idea that you have to be absolutely perfect all the time, or your skin will never heal, and that's utter bullshit. You know, okay. Like I was really consistent, and I worked my butt off the year that I healed my skin. I had mess ups. You know, I had things that I just, you know, lost my way on, and bad days and social eating and stressful eating at times. And I still made it happen. I have clients who aren't perfect. They have careers where they have to have, you know, social eating, or they go to events, or everyone has their stuff, right? And we can't be perfect all the time. We do our best to control the variables that we can control and the ones that we can't. The way I look at it is this. If you're going over to spend time with your mom, that's a beautiful thing. Enjoy it. Connect with her. Yeah. Just eat a little less of the food. You know, mom won't really know. Just try to limit the damage. I'm kind of joking, but I'm kind of not. You know, like eating just a little less can make a big deal. And then it's all about what happens when you leave. Does that trigger you into more bad stuff and then more bad stuff? Or are you able to, okay, I leave, and then the next day, maybe you have what I call an exit strategy routine, meaning if I had a cheat meal, I knew that the next day I was doing an enema, I was doing intermittent fasting, I was going to overhydrate, do my juice, and then have my good dinner, and then day 2 I was back on track. So having an exit strategy and saying, you know what, if I'm going to have a mess up, I'm not going to stress about the mess up, because that makes it even worse. I'm just going to enjoy it, have fun, connect, and then take care of myself afterwards. And I think if you're limiting the cheat meals and the mess ups, if it's not happening on a regular basis, I think you just don't even have to worry about them. I just don't. Yeah.
And what if it's like a more big behavioral change where you're like exercising more or adding detox routines or whatever?
Yeah. Kind of 2 different ways depending on the personality type. One is take it slow and make it fun until it's a habit, and then scale it up and do it more. The other way is the opposite. Some people want to jump in, like, all right, I'm not working out, but if I start hitting the gym 7 days a week, I'm never going to stop. So know your personality, and either just jump in with both feet and then adjust as you go and kind of enjoy the chaos of that, or pick one habit at a time that you really want to work on, and just slowly, in the most enjoyable way you can, without doing it too much, bring it into your life and refine it and get better at it. And then a month in, it's a habit. And then you can do way more of it or focus on another habit.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah,
just slow, just really slow habit stacking. That's really what it is.
Yeah. And also like knowing what kind of person you are kind of helps probably, because you just mentioned it and I'm like, oh yeah, of course.
Right? Because a lot of people they see me doing something, or they see Goggins doing something, or Jocko, or whatever, and they say, oh, then that's how I have to do it. And if I approached my life like Goggins, I would have already died from a heart attack. I'm someone who has to be, I am Mr. Gray Area. My schedule mushes and slides and turns, and that is what makes me feel safe, and that's how I stay consistent. Other people are the opposite, where they're like, nope, it's 5 a.m. and I'm running 20 miles and it's that, and I'm just jumping in and I'm sticking to it. So who are you, and what do you need? And give yourself what you need.
Oh yeah. So also returning to the topic about this is something different, but returning to the topic about figuring out what works for you food-wise. Do you have recommendations of what to try first?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So I'm going to just go based off you, and I'm assuming you're kind of carnivore, animal-based-ish. I think the best way to kind of organize what foods to test first is, obviously you're only going to be testing healthy foods, right? So we're not testing, you don't test McDonald's. That's not a thing. Some people need to hear that. Probably not you, but some people do. So the first thing to test is obviously the base diet's going to be around the safe foods, which are animal proteins, animal fats, things like fruit, certain root vegetables, for the most part, and maybe a few low glycemic vegetables that are the safer ones in general.
Root vegetables like potatoes, or root vegetables like what?
More like root vegetables like rutabaga, rhubarb, beets, and carrots. Things like that tend to be really safe. So really the testing, once you have like your staple foods, tends to go from where you're at to then dairy, because most people don't use dairy during the first 3 months. Some people do. So high quality dairy, then high quality vegetables all the other vegetables that you want to test. Then from there, things that are maybe more risky, beans, maybe grains, maybe nuts and seeds. And then you're kind of worked your way through all the whole food groups. Here's the thing to keep in mind, though, is once you've really established the baseline and you're honest with yourself, you could test the worst food first, because your body's going to tell you, right? So if you test beans in month 4, at that point, your body is going to tell you if beans are working. Now, hey, maybe you want to test beans again. Okay, try it a year later or 7 months later again.
Okay, and then for just a mind experiment, what if you I'm past the 3 months. I start introducing foods. I start with a food, pick whatever, and I notice during the first month, because I should be trying it out for a month, approximately, right?
Yeah.
So during that month, I noticed that whatever bloating, whatever, gut problems, poop problems, whatever, and then what do I do? Do I just abort or do I continue?
Cut it out. Cut it out. Done. That food, it's gangster. It's food. How dare you treat me that way? You're done. You're out of my life, at least for a little while, because there are foods that maybe where you are in the healing phase, your gut biome is just not fully healed, and a fully healed gut can definitely handle different things than an almost healed gut. Absolutely. Like I could go and have coffee, pizza, sriracha, and tacos and wake up tomorrow and I'd be good to go. No skin issues, no bloating, just a good poop and along with my day. If I would have done that during my healing process, I would have been messed up for a month. I would have been flared up for way over a month, So it's really just that. I like to use the term, like, if you ask your body what it wants by feeding it a certain food and you just listen, it's going to give you a pretty black and white answer most of the time, especially once you've had to establish that baseline and you have a good understanding and awareness of your body.
And then, for example, okay, so when you mention, like, for example, fruits, should I also up fat intake if I'm like in a carnivore type situation when I reintroduce those foods or not? Does it matter at all?
So kind of naturally what happens is you can on purpose manipulate macros, or you can just look what your macros are based on naturally what you're eating from a group of food. So like, let's say you want to test fruit and you're eating basically a carnivore diet or an animal-based diet, and you naturally start eating fruit. You haven't done it in a while. So you start slow. You have maybe like a banana the first day. And by the end of the week, maybe you're having 2 pieces of fruit in the day. By the end of the month, you could work your way up to eating as much fruit as you want. Like, let's say you're eating like 6 pieces a day. Then what you would do is you would just plug your day, a typical day of eating, into something like Chronometer or MyFitnessPal and look at what your macros are. Oh, interesting. After eating naturally for this month and testing fruit, I have this many grams of carbs per day. I average about this many calories, and my fat went down to this amount. And everything biomarker-wise is feeling amazing. Cool. Those macros are a good working place for you.
I have to be honest, I also feel weird using Chronometer and then putting in foods while on this diet. It feels like it's wrong or something, right?
I think that it is. I think long-term usage of things like that create a mental, just it's too much. That's not the way it should be. But as I mentioned earlier in the video, sometimes sometimes you have to over-focus so that you don't have to ever focus again. And so, like, I don't need Chronometer or anything, and I can look at a meal and be like, that is this many proteins, this many calories, and it's just natural. And you don't need to be able to do that, but at a certain point, it is good when you're really honing everything in to just have a clear idea of what's going on. But I agree with you. I think long-term, forever, putting every food that you eat into an app or measuring it is asinine. I think that's going to lead to mental issues and stress and psychosis, and no, that's not what we're going for.
It was also a bit too much. Like, like you said, but that's also something that it helped me figure out something. Like, for example, this was like back before Carnivore, but I used to eat salamis. I still love salami, by the way. So if I could incorporate it in any way or like cheat a bit, I would. But I figured out that it has like a really high salt intake, and I didn't even know until I used the app, right? So I put in a sandwich with some salami. I'm like, oh shit, I'm already way over the salt that I should be taking.
Right.
But also, that's also something I'm curious about, because that's also the app telling me like this is the norm, and I also have to recognize that doing this is not really according to the norm, right? So
So that's a good question. I treat apps the same way I treat doctors. They don't tell me what's going on. I tell them what's going on. So when I use Chronometer, I'm not going, oh, Chronometer says I'm not getting enough calcium. I just say, based on the food I put in it, what are my numbers? And I'll decide whether they're good or bad, because we could open up a whole, conspiracy theory rabbit hole about what nutrition levels in human beings even mean. And I'll just touch on it just for a second. You take a human being who eats an all-natural diet, that lives in the wilderness, that hunts deers and eats wild berries and is thriving on every level, and then you give them a blood test and you test their nutrient levels, they will be deficient in things. Humans are deficient in things. That's how we are. We're never topped off of all things all the time forever. That is impossible. I don't believe that's a reality.
Yeah, true. It sets me thinking to a certain topic, which is like the vitamin D levels during winter.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I did some blood work at some point, which was after a winter period, and they were like, oh, your blood's decent, but the only thing that's low is your vitamin D. But it's probably because of that, right? But I'm also like, the levels that they give, should I be adhering to them, or should it be like, oh wait, I should be way above them, because these are numbers that are average people, right? So they take the average person, and if the average person is like deficient in all kinds of things, then should I be way above that, or
right? Or the other side of the coin is like, if someone who's obese has vitamin D levels at this amount compared to someone who's metabolically healthy, lean, strong, and sleeps great has vitamin Ds at the same level, well, I have no symptoms means nothing is going on. My biomarkers already have told me how I'm feeling. I feel perfect. And my biomarkers beat labs. Your biomarkers will start to change before labs can even register what's going on. That's the beauty of them. So if your biomarkers are super good and you feel amazing and you're getting great boners and you're getting great sleep and your mood's pretty good, and you go to your doctor and he says, hey, your vitamin D levels are low, you go, okay, bud, appreciate you, But hey, if your vitamin D levels are actually really low, that can mess you up for sure. So in the winter, the reason why people's vitamin D levels go low is not because there's not enough sun. It's just because people stop going outside. And so you have to keep going outside in the winter. And also, if you're not, spend a little extra time with the precursors that help create vitamin D. So cholesterol, saturated fat, full spectrum, complete amino acids combined with some form of UV. So either the sun or like a red light therapy. And if you're getting the right nutrients and you're getting a little red light, or you're getting a little outside time in the winter, you can stay pretty legit with your vitamin D levels. And also, like, the research, and I hate even saying this because I'm so really anti-research in many ways, but we do have a pretty good idea of vitamin D supplementation being at worst benign, meaning you don't have a high risk of it doing anything bad. So it's like, supplement with vitamin D on top of it. It's not gonna hurt. So take vitamin D supplements, red light therapy, continue to go outside in the winter, and have the precursors for vitamin D alchemy, and you'll see that things will shift.
You have like some advice on how to get through rough times and stay motivated. How do you stay motivated?
For me, and I'll make this one way more personal than just kind of talking general. For me, the tough times is what gives me the juice to be motivated. So negative energy to me is energy, and I can either sulk in it, I can get depressed from it, I can whine about it, I can vent, and all those things are valid. Or I can say, I feel so much freaking anger and energy right now. I'm going to use this to be disciplined and go grocery shopping and hit the weight room and do all the shit that I'm not doing because I don't want to feel this damn way anymore in my life at all. Screw this feeling. I'm over it. And just kind of flip it, like take the negativity, and it's just juice, it's energy, and push it towards the positive. Use it to motivate you, move it. The other aspect is the opposite, is like when I'm not going to run from my emotions. If I am going through a challenging time, I am 100% with all of my being going to face it and feel it and go through it, so that I don't have to deal with it for my entire life. I can have the trauma or the challenge or the setback and fully feel it and then move through it. And once my body has really felt it, it doesn't have to keep reliving it all the time. It can fully feel what it needs to feel. And then that opens up the space for growth or something new. And so sometimes you just have to give yourself a little time. Like, okay, like I am going to allow myself a week to just be so sad and upset. And I'm going to just feel it completely. And then after that week, I'm going to get back to it, or I'm going to give myself when the emotion comes up, I'm not going to run from it. I'm not going to try to hide from it or put it away. I'm going to look it right in the eye and I'm going to say, I feel you. I see you. Teach me what you need to teach me and just embrace it and take it on. That's what I try to do. Am I perfect at it? Hell no. It's a practice, but that's my approach and that's my mindset.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I noticed pretty much from the get-go. Your energy is like, how do you call it? Like contagious.
Cool.
I like it, man. Thanks a lot.
Hey, man, you're very welcome, and I really appreciate you jumping on this call today and sharing your story with everybody. I think we had some really good questions, and we got into some good territory.
Help me out.
Is there any other last things that you'd like to give some advice or experience or ask another question? We have a few more minutes and we can wrap it up with one last kind of hurrah if you want.
So, okay, I guess if anybody is struggling right now with skin issues, I guess I would tell them that it's you can fucking do it, man. Like I was there. I was there just like Rob was, like lost, and then just trying out like something like this, something out of the ordinary. It totally helped me out, and I'm ready to go back in. Yeah. Very
cool. That's very helpful, and I couldn't agree more. I think that, as I said earlier, the worst case scenario is that if you take this on the way that I teach and some others teach, is the worst case scenario is that your skin becomes totally manageable and your health is amazing. Okay, that's not a bad place to be, and that's worst case scenario in my opinion. Best case scenario is 10 years from now, you guys get to look back on life like I did and say, damn, that was a relief, and God, I'm happy that I wake up and I don't even look at my pillow for flakes, or I don't even go to the bathroom mirror to pick off my new crunchies from my mustache. Like, doesn't happen anymore. That's
an oddly relatable thing. Yeah.
I've been there. Well, Julian, again, thanks for being on. And if you have any questions or need any help in the future, you know where to find me, and you know where to find the videos. And so thanks for sharing your story. And I think some people got some good lessons from today.
Thanks, man. Thanks for everything.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely.
See you later.